Welcome back to our main blockbuster of the night. This is the final match of the 2020 Pandanet-AGA City League. Congratulations to New York City for having already secured the title with the current 2-0 scoreline against Bay Area. But this game will nevertheless be a hard-fought battle between our players, of course. You're tuning into an all-professional duel as 7-dan professional Mingjiu Jiang from Bay Area takes on AGA 1-dan professional Ryan Lee from the New York City team. Just before the start of Congress Week, we managed to sit down with him for a quick interview. So check it out.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Lee. I'm a professional 1-dan Go player from the AGA. My favorite things about playing Go are probably one, meeting new friends from the game after playing with them, and the second thing is doing Sumego problems with Go friends without looking at the problem itself. Things are good. Chilling in New York mostly. Haven't been to school very much because we've been working remotely. So yeah, luckily I'm able to work remotely, so that hasn't affected me too much. It was good as usual. I think City League has a nice pace, so one game per month is not too bad. Yeah, it's been great. Playing Mingjiu is always difficult because you kind of imagine him when you play him, and I think he has. You probably know, since I reviewed the game against him online, and I talked about how he has like this charisma of just some weird charisma that you have to worry about. I don't know, it's kind of strange, but I think I'm looking forward to match. He's a very strong player, obviously, and I haven't had that many games against him. Well, if you saw the Trinlan Cup, you'll probably notice that I'm not in the best form, but I do believe in my teammates.
Ah, yeah, the mystique of Mingjiu. Well, this should be a very interesting encounter between two great North American players. So to get things started, please welcome our channel's legendary power duo, host Chris Garlock and 9-dan professional Michael Redmond.
All right, folks, welcome to the Pandanet-AGA City League Finals. I'm Chris Garlock, managing editor of the American Go e-Journal. Here, once again, Michael Redmond, 9-dan professional Go player. Good to see you, Michael.
Hi.
So you've got your Corona cut looking good. Is it as hot there in Japan as it is here in DC?
It's very hot, yeah. Going up to 35 centigrade, so I think that's close to 100.
Oh yeah, close enough. So, Michael, this game tonight is reminding me a bit of Game 4 in the AlphaGo Lisa Doll match back in 2016. Just hopefully in the level of play, but and probably hopefully for San Francisco in the result, because the match result, folks may be aware, has already been decided. New York City has three-peated, as we like to say. They just locked up earlier this week their third consecutive championship. They're 2-0. So San Francisco is looking to prevent the clean sweep, get a little action on the board. And New York, of course, would like to complete their perfect record. So we should talk a little bit about the players. This is board one. Ryan Lee, 1-dan professional from New York City, and of course my old friend Mingjiu Jiang, 7P from San Francisco, which is near my hometown of Berkeley, California, not too far from your home stomping grounds in California, Northern California. So. Actually, you were pointing out something interesting about Ryan that we should mention to folks.
Oh yeah, well, one big fact about Ryan is that he beat Jiang, the 3-time world champion in international tournaments, and so that was pretty big news. Like, even beating a normal pro would be big news for an American pro, I think, because the Asian pros are so strong. And the players in those tournaments are really top level. And of course, this is the world champion. And I also just noticed that in the AG AlphaGo versus the World Series, the next two games are going to be Jiang. And
how cool.
Those two games, people who tune into those two games will be able to see how actually Chen Yaoye does fairly well against AlphaGo. So he does well against the computer programs too.
He did very, very well. So yeah, he's a serious player. So yeah, when Ryan Lee was able to beat Chen Yaoye, that was big time. So it should be an interesting matchup. Of course, Ryan much younger, and should be interesting in terms of style. But Mingjiu's got some game. He's been around for a minute. He's got
He's a very exciting player.
Yep. Very strong reader, never gives up, a very fierce fighter. I remember recording many of his top board games, and the concentration, obviously, from these two is going to be pretty serious. So I think the fact that the championship is decided, I think is almost, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but these guys are both going to be fighting very, very hard to get the win. I remember, actually, as I was listening to the notes here, Ryan became a pro back in 2014 in our third pro qualifier. And those were really big deals for American pros. You, of course, had to go to Japan at the time when you started studying. There was no American pro system. The only shot you had was
no internet.
It was no internet. There was a lot of things that were different. But so you came up in the Japanese pro system, and so it's pretty exciting to now have some American pros, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I always thought that it was necessary for Go to prosper in America. You had to have some professionals, and hopefully some kind of tournament system eventually.
Right. Which obviously is in a bit of a hiatus due to current situation, but folks are playing online, and things like this Go Congress, which we should mention, has been, I think, a big success this week. I've been tracking the viewership numbers, so a lot of folks have been watching. I think almost all the tournaments, if I'm not mistaken, were all filled up, which is pretty cool. So that's nice, and there's a lot of logistical things to work out for online playing, obviously.
Since it was online, did you get players from overseas?
That's a really good question. We'll have to check with some of the TDs. I'm not actually sure about that. I mean, we normally do get at the regular Congress. We've got usually delegations from Japan, and certainly from Mexico, Canada. So we usually get somewhat of an overseas contingent. That's a good question. We'll have to check. Maybe Stephen can track that down, or Jared can track that down for us and find out what the overseas contingent was. I would certainly expect that with the online factor that could be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Part of our team, Steve Colburn, on the case here. He says, yes, we have overseas folks. He doesn't know numbers, but hopefully we'll track that down. So there's the answer. Crack team, right on this. There's a good step. So yeah, but just exciting. I'm really happy to be able to do the Congress. Even I was looking forward to going to Colorado, but doing it online has been great. This enabled a lot of people to participate and to get their Go fix. And I think also do some of the things that we would normally do in an in-person Congress. And I think it's going to open up some options even when we get back to in-person play. I expect that some of this online stuff will be retained.
Well, just for the record, I did tweet about it in my Japanese Twitter account.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I think really there's potential for it to get really big, because there's people who would not travel, who would be willing to take part in this. I think so. I think with it on the internet like this, you have potential for more people actually.
Yeah, I'm seeing a note here from Stephen that says over 50 countries, which is way more than normal. So that's perfect for Go. Go is an international game, and some of my favorite events have been things like the World Amateur Go Championship, the International Pair Go Championship. And it's a great opportunity to bring people together from around the world. So in some ways, there's been a lot of interesting sort of side effects to the pandemic that I think have been different and unusual. And yeah, I think that's right. You had almost 1,000 folks, which I'm not even sure in an in-person Congress, we probably would not be able to handle 1,000 people. I think I could be wrong, but I think maybe 5 or 6 was the most we ever did, 500 or 600, just in terms of what facilities can handle and so forth. And they're not inexpensive. You got to travel to them, and obviously when you're doing it 8 days, in person, that's a whole commitment.
Yeah.
So this way people can participate. And I think the other thing that it may do, and we'll see what comes out of this, is to be able to do. There's been talk for years about doing like a winter Congress, which I think just hasn't been possible logistically to pull off in addition to the regular Congress. But maybe going forward, we could look at something online as well as the in-person one, and maybe one would feed the other, which would be kind of cool. So things to come. So we're going to, I believe, and I'll just wait for my cue from our producers. I think we got a little pre-recorded content coming up with the game. All right. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the game live, and then we're going to let the game develop a little bit, freshen up our tea, and then we'll come back and start in on the commentaries. So, and then we'll talk more about the players, and I'm going to talk to Michael about what's been going on with the tournament scene in Japan, which has restarted. We'll see how that's going. And of course, we will be taking your questions and comments, folks. So we're looking forward to that. So anything else that you wanted to add, Michael, before we cut to the game?
I'm just looking forward to it.
All right, me too. All right, folks, again, welcome, Chris Garlock, Michael Redmond. We're here with the board one of the Pandanet-AGA City League Finals. We will go now to the beginning of the game, and we will see you all shortly. Enjoy. All right, folks, we're back. Chris Garlock back with you, managing editor of the American Go e-Journal, of course, with Michael Redmond, 9-dan professional, Japanese professional, and Michael, good to have you back. Good to see you. We'll talk about some other stuff, but we have a great game going here. This is board one in the Pandanet-AGA City League Finals. As I mentioned earlier, New York has already wrapped up the championship, their third consecutive championship, with their first 2 wins on boards 3 and 2. So San Francisco is basically just wants to disrupt the sweep that's shaping up for New York City. So we'll see what's happening, and this we'll get into some background on both Ryan and Mingjiu, who we know very well. But this game, we were sort of kidding when we were looking at this during the break, and I was wondering, was this a Hayago Speed Go tournament that I missed the memo? Normally on these, I've done a lot of, board one recording, and normally, in the first half hour, they'll play maybe 10 moves. I mean, they're usually quite slow. So, whatever reason, they're cooking right along. So why don't you first give us an assessment of what's the game status at this point?
Well, it looks pretty even. I'm a bit worried about Black's position on the right side because there's some bad Aji there. So I'm looking to see White playing, for instance, this point on the right side, Q9, could potentially cause some trouble there. But that would be a very tactical reading position. We'll see if Mingjiu thinks he wants to do that. For the time being, White is surrounding the upper side. Actually, I think it shows potential of being a fairly close game, provided the right side doesn't turn into some kind of a disaster.
We shall see. We shall see. Just a reminder, folks, of course, we are live, so we welcome your comments and questions. I'll be keeping an eye on that, and also our crack producers will be flagging that as well. So, Michael, why don't we go ahead and roll it back to the beginning?
Beginning, okay.
You can tell us how we got to where we are right now. And again, folks, feel free to ask questions. Some of them our producers may answer, but if they think that it's good for Michael to answer,
I can try.
You can try.
Yeah.
Or you may make me try it, and you know, then we'll really be in trouble.
Okay, so black jumps into the 3 point. This is pretty normal. Extending here when black is bumped against white is unusual. And it's supposed to be not so good for white. But black did not go into the more exciting variation, which would be playing here and extending here. Would be much more exciting, but dangerous, actually.
Right.
So black instead plays this variation. And this is usually played by white when black has started with the attachment underneath. So let's back up a little bit.
Actually, do me a favor. I think we covered this in one of our Master Go things, but I think you had talked about if you go back just to the unusual move there and talk about that just for a moment.
The usual move would be maybe this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which case, white can play away, white can play a hane on the second line. It's usually one of those two. Of course, the old joseki works also, white can play the extension.
Right.
But right now, the fad is basically just to play a hane on the second line, I think. And something like this is very commonly seen. Of course, the latter is going to favor black in this case. So white's going to play something like this. This is a very popular joseki. In this orientation, I think it would be okay for black, actually. Just because white's wall on the lower side does not really have much room to expand.
Right.
When black plays here, it's common for white to play here. And if we assume something just like the game happens, a variation, for instance, like this is something that could happen. And this exchange here is going to be bad for black. That's a bad exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that added to the equation, people would say that this is okay for white. And I think a computer program would give white a slight advantage. But in the game, they did that without that exchange on the second line. Without that, and when black bumped here, white played the same same variation. Oh, sorry, I'm going into my own variations here. Yeah, white played the same variation like this. And this move is played because white could not capture in a ladder. Obviously, it would have been better to capture in a ladder if white could, but the ladder doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so white plays here. This is probably about even, but the fact that black did not play this exchange on the second line here, this is usually played when black starts with that attachment on the second line. So without that exchange, it's maybe a bit better for black, actually.
But that's what I'm wondering is because the ladder doesn't work, I'm wondering if the sequence is not ideal for white.
Well, actually, it would be perfectly okay for white to play this way, only it would be super difficult. And I'm not confident in giving you the correct variation after this.
Wow, okay.
This is going to be very, very complicated. When black can push here or black can extend here. In either case, it could develop into a race to capture between black's group in the corner. Like stuff like this could happen. Oh, sorry, not that one. Stuff like this can happen. It gets really very, very exciting. Someone's going to die. And a lot depends on whether black plays this cut here to start with or not. Maybe black should play the cut first to make this work. But let's leave that variation. So black, it was relatively simple when white played here and allowed black to cut on the third line. It's close enough to even that I'm not really worried that white did anything seriously bad.
Okay.
And the pincer here, this is a point where maybe I would play one space further to the upper side. So like what I'm saying is that I would be thinking of playing a pincer. Oh, not there. Sorry. My hands are a bit unsteady today. I meant a pincer here. Yeah. So I would have been thinking of playing a pincer here. It's still not alive. The white group is not alive. And black has a bit more security in this area here on the right side. There's more potential. It's more likely that that's going to turn into a black territory.
Mm-hmm.
So this move is the more adventurous move. And white jumps in. This is getting very exciting here. But you can see that black does have two little territories on the lower side in the corners. So black does have about 20 points of cash to start with. And white just has that upper right corner. That is.
Right.
So black does have a very slight advantage in territory. And now black wants to take the offensive on the right side. It makes sense that black plays this first. Against this move, white actually played here. White could have extended. Actually, this is more common. This is the more common move because while there's this tissage here, it's not really a big deal. Like white can live in the corner and then white can play on the other side too. So it's even actually, it's a position where black can cut white off there, but in many cases, it's not all that effective. And so white could have just extended there. The fact that white played this move, it did give black a few more forcing moves. So black is playing very straightforwardly here, trying to set up an attack on the right side in this area, on that white stone. It's a position where black could have played the more popular joseki, and white would cover here, and then black could play here, and they would get into this joseki again. But you can see white is linking up, maybe here. This would be the simple way to play. And it looks like it's the right direction for white. So I sort of agree with the choice that black made, playing the double Pandanet. This is locally bad for black, but black does get some extra thickness to attack white on the right. That makes sense. And now white peeps here. It's a bad shape move. Like, actually, white could have just played here. Black would probably add a stone here, and it would become very difficult for white to live on the right side. And then I suppose that white would just curl around here, maybe something like this, building on the upper side. This might be pretty close to even, actually, but for me, it would be a bit discouraging to be just sort of abandoning that white stone. So I like this move that Mingjiu played. I keep mixing up. What's wrong with me? So I played. We played here. Yeah, your brother.
Yeah, of course. Let me ask a question here, and it may just because we've done all of these AlphaGo games, but I'm just wondering about black. Black really needs to make good on that when he plays that capping move, right? I don't know that that just seems sort of one-dimensional. Like, I'm not sure I would have seen AlphaGo playing a move like that. I'm just curious about your thought about that.
Well, the fact that this black group on the right side, these stones here too, are not so strong. I think it's very valuable for black to be playing this capping move and taking the upper hand in the fight, you might say. But it's not at this point in the fight, it's sort of doubtful. I doubt that black can actually kill that white stone. Like, I would not actually have played the game move here. This is a bit. It's really going after that 20-point territory on the right side. I don't think it's worth it. So actually, if I were playing with black, my plan would not be to actually capture the white group. But a fight that is maybe better than even going on. Like white could then play something like this. Maybe it's not going to die, but it's going to be a bit cramped here on the right side. Yeah. So like something like this could happen. I don't know. Maybe something like this. It's going to still take some hard work for white to make a living shape there on the right side. And this is what I would have preferred to do. You know that there, and I see it coming up in the game. There's this weak point in white's position in the lower left.
The Q9 peep.
In the game, he's actually just played it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You talked about that.
At G5 in the lower left, which is something black wants to aim at. And so squeezing white on the right side and then starting this fight from the lower left makes sense to me. It seems to be a solid way for black to continue the game. And I'm not continuing from here just because it's so difficult for white to choose how to settle this group. It's not going to die, but it's going to be a bit painful. So in the game black played, this sort of took me by surprise. And obviously white's going to cut. And then black played here. And the way black is black has given something up in the center and is acting as if the right side is territory. But like, for instance, later on, if white plays this kind of stuff, there is going to be some trouble. Like if there's a white stone in the vicinity type, so something like this, it's already going to be bad.
You go back to that Kasumi for a sec. There's a good question here. There's a question about I think people wanting to sort of finish things up with P13 with a nice move. Wondering whether that might do the trick.
It looks so thin. Like even if white just cuts, or white could play this way. White can always squeeze out somehow. Like for instance, white could play this way. It's a bit vulgar, but when white does get out, it's going to be a lot of pressure on this black group.
Right.
So this is one way white could play locally, or white could do it in a different order. White could start from this side. This would be better shape. And if black covers here, something like this. This is a very exciting fight, actually. It's hard to see who's going to be beating up who. But actually, or white, if black plays that way, white could just start with this. And because of those two variations I showed you, it's going to be very troublesome for black to find. When we compare with this, actually, the game is better because it's a real headache for how black is going to add one stone to that right side position.
Right.
It's black would probably have to play here. It still looks very bad oddsy. Like stuff like this looks so dangerous. It looks like maybe white could make some trouble on the side again.
Ouch. Yeah.
Maybe white can live inside. So just whatever black does is super bad oddsy, so I would just suggest connecting here. And squeezing white is probably better because black's going to win this local fight. It's not as if black is in any danger here. So I think it's better for black to allow white to live on the right side and try to take that back by getting a good position on the outside.
Yeah,
but in the gameplay here, he's going after the cash. Provided black's right side holds together, that is more than 20 points. So that's going to be one of the things I'll be looking at later in the game. How is white going to make something out of that? Because maybe white's not ready to do this yet. So white starts with this move. But like if you have a fight like this following up, then this peep here will be a pretty serious attack next. So it's something that white is always looking to play at some point. So in the game, black did not do that, but black played an approach move. Yeah. This choice of joseki was interesting. It's a pretty rare joseki. And usually black will play here. And when white cuts here, in the joseki sequence that goes on for a while, there's always a big issue with black pushing through here and cutting on the third line. But in this case, it's a position where all of this strength that white has on the right side is going to play a part in the fight. So this fight is probably going to be good for white. And I think that's why Mingjiu chose this joseki, just because he has that strong position there, and black cannot do anything about it. So black plays this other version of the joseki, which is this move. This is actually a move that has been played for a while, and white answered here, and black bumped against white here. I'll just check the moves. And this, locally, it's a dangerous fight for white. Like if white had played from here, then black would continue the fight in the center. And white has trouble on both sides. Like there's the pushing through here and cutting. The fact that white has an eyeless shape on the left side. And the fact that this group also does not have a base. So this is the fight that black wants to do. And it's the whole problem with this variation where white was not able to capture the ladder like I was saying from the start, black did not play that move on the second line, this exchange that I've marked here. It makes a big difference in the eyes of a white group on the lower side. Like if that, let's just put it in as stones, actually. I think I can put it in as stones. If it was looking like this, then white's group on the lower side would be so strong it would have potential eye shape. So that would make a big difference.
Right.
So I think it's reasonable in the game. Mingjiu did not play that way, but instead played here. And if black pushes through, I better get rid of that stone. If black pushes through, it's going to be a ladder. Yeah. So that's no good. And black takes the 2 stones. And so white gave away 2 stones in order to take the initiative. So by doing this, by sacrificing those 2 stones, and playing this this extension, I guess you call it, on the left side, you can see that the black group does not have a base yet. And it's a big area. That left side is a big area. At this point, for the time being, it's more important than white's potential weakness on the right here. Like this group is a group that black does have some potential to attack. And black does have this cutting point here, which could mix in with that. But for the time being, for instance, if black plays something like this, I'm not sure that white's going to answer that. The left side looks so much more important. It's so much more space if white manages to capture that group on.
Yeah, that looks painful, doesn't it?
For the time being, the left side is more important. Yeah. So let's just so black plays an attachment on top and cut underneath. This is an interesting way to play. Black is sacrificing the original stone on the 4th line, and this is the goal that black is heading towards. Black wants to play this move on the 2nd line to secure a territory on the left side. So that's the final point that black is going to take next. For the time being, white has to continue on the left side. Yeah, so white did that. And since white has all those stones in the area, that's going to capture the black stone on the 4th line. Question is, does black want to play that move that I was saying, this one? Does black want to play it right now? Or maybe black wants to do something first. Do you know what I'm hinting at here?
Are you hinting at P6 again? Or the cut?
Oh no, yeah. I was thinking of doing something about this stone, because if black plays here, white can play here and capture that stone.
Ah.
And that looks pretty big to me, actually. So if I was playing with black, I would be thinking of trying to do something about that.
Well, I've been looking at that, Michael, but I've been trying to figure out what to do about it.
Well, one idea would be to take the 2 stones.
Right.
And the question is, if white plays on that other side, can black extend here? And this doesn't look so good, actually, because when black does this and cuts, you can see black has a very bad shape there. That's a lack of liberties. And so it's the famous
Crane's nest.
A swan's nest?
Well, crane's nest, yeah.
Nest, yeah. Sorry, yeah. The English is not catching up, yeah. So that doesn't work.
So sad.
So what I was thinking of, actually, I was thinking of extending here. Now let's put the game move in first, just to keep things simple. Black played here in the game, but I was thinking
nice.
extending here. And now, if white answers here, black can play here. So actually, I think I would have wanted to play that way. And if white plays on this side, then black can now extend here. This is going to work. Well, white can capture these 2 stones, but maybe that's not so important anymore. Black could have improved on that even. Like, maybe black could have started with this move. And that might even improve on that.
The timing is going to be critical, right?
Hard to say. Either way, this is going to be. I think I sort of like this one better, actually. But this is going to be okay for black. So I would have played that move, and white would probably answer here. And this is just it's not a disaster for white, because white would be able to play away now. And in the game, white is probably going to add a stone to the left side. Oops. Let's see. I'm relaying this from Pandanet. It looks like a move was taken back. So that might be the operator. It's gone back a move. So maybe black didn't play here. So I was thinking black had played the jump here. And I think
that didn't happen, actually.
Continue like this.
Yeah.
It looks like it's gone back a move.
It may be that didn't actually happen.
Mm-hmm. Right. Do you know if this is being played with an operator and being played on actual board?
No. I think they're both playing online. Yeah. I think black did not play B16 just yet.
Right. Okay, we got a new move. Looks like black played here. This takes me by surprise. I'm not really sure what black is trying to accomplish with this move. In order to make up for the fact that white is, for instance, even if white just slides here, white is threatening this huge move on the left side. Ideally, black would like to have something pretty lethal on the left side now.
Mm-hmm.
But if black plays here, white can just, let's see, which way should white do it? White could just jump here, and white's connected up, sacrificing 2 stones, of course. So it's not as if that's going to work. If black pushes here, in this case, black will be threatening the 2 white stones on the left. Oh, sorry. Oh, I did that again. Something like this. And white has to be able to capture those 2 stones, but it doesn't look like it's going to work with these 3 stones in a shortage of liberties. And again, if black jumps here, which looks like the shape move, white is connected up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. So black would have to have something like this as a functional move. But for the time being, black does not have enough liberties to make it look good. White has a number of ways white could handle it. I think even white could curl around once and then play here.
That white slide at B15 just looks so troublesome.
It's a big move. It takes away black's space. And if black had played here, if I was playing with white, I would probably want to play this point, at which point black would be able to play something towards the center. And I think basically black is aiming at moves like, for instance, this one, where black can reduce the upper side.
Ah, right.
But when black is going to sit up, black needs this stone on the left anyway. This is such a huge move. And when black does that, black wants to play more forceful moves like the push here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the other question is, maybe he was afraid, and this is what I think really the problem was. Maybe he didn't want white to curl around here. But I think black will play here.
It's a big turn.
So this move here is a kind of the diagonal move here is not ideal for white, and black is going to get to play this move next, and then could just continue with something like this maybe. I still think I like this better than the game, because black does have that nice territory on the left. It's a living shape. But he played here. Sorry. Rid of that move. It's a bit different when the game moves aren't already inputted. Yeah. And so white could, really has a choice of how to reduce the left side. I would really want to reduce the left side. And I think what Mingjiu is thinking about now is what black might be trying to do on the left side, like maybe looking at moves like this, or and I was saying white plays here. There is the question: can black capture? Actually, in this case, black can play here, and maybe black can capture these stones. Yeah, this actually looks like this is going to work. So black can capture the 2 stones there. So white would have to judge this variation. And then white could start thinking about what happens if white tries to avoid that by, instead of playing this move, white could play this move. This actually looks like now that move in the center is not going to work so well because white can push through here. The difference is that in this variation, when white pushes through, black can back off, and this stone helps to surround the white group. So in this variation, the white group is captured. In this variation,
nice.
Black does not have the option of pulling back here. And if black tries to create it with something like this, you can see black's liberties are disappearing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it could be that Mingjiu is thinking about stuff like this.
Wow.
But you know, this is really such a big point here that white has to play. Otherwise, you could be thinking of reinforcing the upper side a little bit with this move. In this case, like if black pulls back, then this would be even better. But actually, black is probably going to connect on the fourth line. And then black would have a kind of a minimal living shape on the left side. So that would be okay for black, I think.
So just a quick game check right now. I mean, I know we're in the middle of a fight, but what's the balance of territory at the moment?
Well, if we call the right side a black territory, that's
Okay.
That's over 20 points.
Yep.
Black has something like 20 points in the lower left corner. Like that's like a very solid minimum of 16 points. But then if we add on areas like this that look like black has some potential. Oh, sorry, got carried away there. Like this area on the left here, where black seems to have a bit extra territory and potential towards the lower side, then I'd say it's closer to 20 points. Black has about 10 points in the lower right corner. So that's 30. So if we say the right side is the black territory, that's 55. And in this variation, black would have less than 10 points. So black is over 60 points now. If we're going to call the upper side a white territory, that's about 50 points. It all depends on the borderline. Like white would like to have a boundary somewhere around here. And then it would be more than 50 points. But
right.
Like for the time being, that's a bit questionable. And then white doesn't have any more territory. So you can see this was a board position where white really wanted to attack that black group on the left as much as possible. And black's game plan is basically to settle that group first, and then to continue It could become a close game, or it could become, wow. So in the game, we have a game move now. White played. It looks like White was worried about those variations I was showing on the left, so White played here. Well, in this case, now again, Black has a choice. I would be perfectly okay with jumping here.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And the other choice would be, for instance, locally, pushing, White's going to curl around here immediately. And so this is just slightly painful for Black, locally. So the other choice would be to push there. But I'm not so sure about that. Like, pushing here would be another choice.
So just for folks who are watching, because I think that a lot of folks are probably nervous about those sequences where White swells out that side territory and would be inclined to kind of leave off that move at B16, thinking, feeling like that's maybe a slow move, right? But can you explain why that's actually
well, you see,
move?
Let's just have Black play something like this, for instance. Taking away Black's base here is actually, in this case, White would probably curl around. Let's just have a hypothetical sequence where White gets to play this slide. The territory is something close to 20 points. So it's big as territory is concerned. And it's also big because this whole Black group does not have a base now.
Mm-hmm.
So if Black starts doing stuff like this, it's just the left side is probably more important than all this stuff that Black is doing in the center of the board. And Black is starting 2 fights at the same time, and he's not going to be able to handle it. And so I think this looks a bit unreasonable for Black, even if White plays the more straightforward move here. This is just so dangerous for Black with stones on both sides. So even if Black captures these White stones, I think losing this group on the left would be so much more important. And it would give White a win.
Got it.
So that's the real, the fact, it's not just the territory, it's the fact that it's creating a weak Black group makes it a big move.
So just settling it actually is not only worth points, but then means that Black doesn't have to worry about defending it so much.
Right, like at this point, I would be much happier for Black to be playing something like this now if Black has to. But as I was showing you before, I think Black waits one more move. And like if White plays something like this, then White will get that territory. But I think that Black can handle the game position with this kind of thing. Something like this happening, reducing the White territory a certain degree. And then, for instance, Black could continue with something like this. The virtue of this kind of variation where White is getting that territory is that Black's territory on the right side is a bit more secure than it was before. And it's getting closer to 30 points. Pretty close to 30 points now.
Right.
And Black gets the initiative to attack on the lower side. So Black's territory is looking like, if Black gets some extra territory on the lower side, this is going to be something like 80 points for Black.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of cash in the bank.
Yeah. Black can afford to give that one area to White. You just have to remember that White has such a strong position in the area. This group, White had at least strong groups there. It's an indication that it's really dangerous for Black to start a fight in that general area. So it sort of it's logical for Black to allow White to surround that territory.
Right.
So just like I was wondering if that was what he was thinking about, the fact that he didn't like White curling around here. So with this move, instead of playing there immediately, Ryan pushed once. So he pushed once here. And when White played the Hane here, he jumped. So this is something that actually, taking away that forcing move from White, it sort of makes sense.
Right. Hey,
I don't really have any problem with the way Black chose to play here.
Quick question about White's placement if he gets a chance to play in that inside there. What's the difference between C14 and B14?
B15 probably. Well, if white can get to C14, it's better. So like if white can play here and play here, this is more effective in taking away black's eye space. But depending on what the situation is on the outside, like in this, at this point maybe, if white plays here, white has to figure out what happens if black, for instance, jumps here. It could be more of a problem. For instance,
Right.
if white then cuts and black connects, this looks like black is going to win by one move, maybe. Actually, it might be safer to play the honey underneath. Something like this. White has 3 liberties and black has 4. So it looks like black's going to win the fight to capture. The
Right.
race to capture. So that's something that white has to worry about. And you might have noticed that black's previous move was pushing here. And the fact that black has that extra stone there will make it's a decisive difference in this particular variation.
Right.
And so that's why the move that I was suggesting was sort of going back and forth there, depending on whether black has added a stone to that position or not. Because sometimes I was a bit uneasy, not really reading it out as I was talking to you, but like in this position, I was a bit uneasy about peeping here. It looked a bit dangerous to me with the potential jump here. So black pushed once and then jumped. And okay. No, he didn't play that one. Okay. He jumped. And white peeped here. That looks like a very Mingjiu-like move. It's very annoying sometimes when he does stuff like that.
Yeah.
Black has any number of ways to answer this. So white's sort of asking what black wants to do about it.
No test.
Yeah, just like there's multiple ways that black can capture this white stone. It's not really a serious problem. Even if black just bumps against, it's not really working. For instance, if white cuts, black's winning by 2 moves. In this case.
Right.
So maybe let's have white jump here. Even if black just peeps from above, this is really such a small potential gain for white. Stuff like this, white's not really gaining anything.
It's end game.
You know, it's not like the potential loss in the upper left corner is probably worse than what white got back. I don't really think this is so important, but like it's just the idea that stuff like this could potentially happen, just creating some potential, some maji, as the Japanese would say.
Sure.
And so black bumped against. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Okay. White played here and here. And if black and black answered here. So white got the cover on the second line. So white did get a bit extra territory in the corner, but that was it. This is actually an interesting semi problem. If we look at it from white's point of view, let's have black play away. Let's black play some random move.
You've got 2 moves, right?
Yeah. Now, if we look at it like this, if we have white push through the bamboo joint, black is still winning, right? Black has 3 liberties and white has 2.
Yeah.
So in this case, I assure you, black is winning.
Okay.
Okay. Take back 2 moves. So what does white do? I just showed you white pushing through the bamboo joint. That was a big move. Next, we can have white fill a liberty from the outside.
Okay.
And black wins this way too. It looks like black's winning the semi, right? Black winning, yeah, but actually black is not winning the race to capture.
Uh-oh.
You have an answer?
Yeah, so white closes.
Where does white play?
E16.
E16, then black wins.
Oh no, I'm sorry, A14, A14.
A14, that's a tricky move. Actually, that works too. Then we're next.
Okay, folks, help me out here. Help me out. What about A16?
A16, yeah. White could have played there immediately.
Really? That's Hane? That's just a regular Hane?
In this kind of semi, in this kind of race to capture, it's a kind of a rule of thumb that you push through the bamboo joint last.
Of course.
The bamboo joint is going to fill white's liberties too. White wants to keep that move to the last. So after black covers here, now white can push through the bamboo joint. And because white got this exchange in earlier, it means black has filled one of his own liberties. White can win this way.
It's annoying.
Mm-hmm. So that's why that whole sequence was forcing, and black had to answer here. White extends here. And now, so this is sort of according to plan for both sides. I think black has that 10-point territory on the left side. And white is building that territory on the upper side. This forcing move here, it still bugs me. I still sort of wish that black could play that exchange.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to force white to play something like, or maybe something like this.
How big is that at this point?
It's like it's more than 10 points and it's going to be Sensei. Like white, if black leaves that without playing that move, let's just play a random move for black. Anyway, if we just look at the left side, this is a position where white can actually capture that. And that makes that local area something like 15 points for white. Whereas if black plays this exchange, the extending here next is pretty damaging. So white's going to answer somehow. And now the black territory is comparable to the white territory. So it's more than points and it's keeping tempo.
And white has like no points there. Well, maybe a handful.
White has more than black does, but it's not really that much. So in the game, it looks like black played here. And this is actually, locally, it's a pretty good move. And it's taking away the bad aji that I was talking about here pretty much. So it's pretty effective in that. So it's expanding that black territory, making it, it's still below 30 points. It's something like 25 points. And it is looking at some potential to cut with a move, for instance, like this. So white will, and also the fact that white has a weak connection up to the left there with that cutting point on the 6th line there. Black's hope is to force white to play a lot of dame points, useless moves in this general, I didn't want to do the triangles that much. But black wants to force white to play a lot of useless moves in this general area. Okay, so this is the game variation. Oh no, that's not the game variation. So black played here, and white played here. So we can see, oh no, white did not do that. Let's just check the order. Relaying this game from Pandanet is sort of exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
So white answered here once. So this is sort of dealing with the cut there, and then white continued playing these forcing moves in the corner, and then jumped. And you can see this is going according to plan as far as black is concerned, and that white is being forced to play a lot of bad, useless moves, basically. Like black with that final move. If I were black, I might have sort of been a bit more nasty and played this one too. White has a very heavy shape.
Ooh, that is cruel.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to play that exchange.
That's a nice sequence.
But this is a good point in the overall position, so it's not a problem. It's not as if black really had to hurry to play that beat. Black is still looking at this cut. I'm still bugged by the fact that black should be playing this extension on the left side at some point.
Sort of reminding me of AlphaGo, who once AlphaGo sees the really big move, just no matter what else happens, it's like that's the move.
Okay, I just took a quick count of this white territory here. So the white territory boundary is, let's assume that white gets to surround it on a boundary like this. The end game move here is going to be white's. So this, I'll write in the black stones too. So that's 57 points.
57. Wow, that is a lot of points. Of course, that is pretty much his only territory, though.
And it's his only territory. White has a few points here. So let's call it somewhere in the vicinity of 60 points. So if we look at the black territory, I'm going to call this a territory now. So let's get rid of those markers and mark the black territory. This end game move is going to be for white. And if let's just make a line like this, assumption that black has a territory like this. That's a pretty conservative guess, I suppose. And that's 28 points.
Yep, 28. Yep.
So here black has a bit more than 10 points. So let's add that on to make this. Let's call this 12 points.
Right.
And say that's 40. So this is a minimum of 10, so that's 50. And black's going to have, this is going to be about 20 points. So that's 70 points for black. And I was saying that white added up to something like 60, right?
Yeah.
So I think black does have, it still depends on what happens in the center.
Because black's got to pay Comey.
Black's got to pay Comey. It could become fairly close.
This is one of these times in a lot of amateur games where folks get a little loosey-goosey. Maybe get a little adventurous and impatient.
Right.
And a close game can just fall apart.
Is wide open. It's really difficult to judge the situation. Like I sort of simplified it because this borderline that I mapped out here, that's not rock solid yet.
There's a little wiggle room there, right?
Right. Yeah. So that area is not rock solid. And this area, just the fact that black has solid positions on both sides means that this area is an area that's going to be very difficult for white to make two eyes. So white has to be careful in how white deals with this group white has that does not have any eyes for the time being. For instance, preemptive of black's peep here that I was talking about. I was talking about pushing through here and then peeping. Let's do it with a stone.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the pushing through, peeping, and then cutting. Is that got anything going for it?
You mean cutting on the left?
Yeah, H6. Is that premature?
This would be exciting. Like I'm not sure that black group, that stone is going to be safe enough.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that black stone. I would prefer to play like Ryan did, and just allow white to play dominant points. Like something like this looks more attractive to me.
Well, because black can also still make some nice profit on the bottom, right? In the attack.
Well, in the natural course of things, it's more likely that that lower side is going to be black territory. Like white can play there, but white's not going to get much territory out of it, which means that there is a real possible. Like if white plays stuff like this, it would make the connection in the center. But then black would be playing moves like this later, and black would get that lower side territory.
Those last couple of moves for white, those were, I think, it's 1, 2, 3 dame points.
Dame points. Like ideally, white would like to be able to do something like this, and something like this, and start a call. I would be tempted to go about it this way, and just try to do my best to avoid the necessity of connecting up to the left, because those are worthless moves. And of course, this call, although it could white's life, the life of the white group here could depend on this call. It's also a very dangerous call for black, because black would be standing to lose a lot of points on the left side. So white could continue something like this, for instance. If white wins this call, that whole right side is sort of disappearing. And if we look at the whole board position, black's co-threats are pretty difficult. It's not easy to find good co-threats. And so if I were white, I would be trying to make a co-like situation. Of course, black is going to try to avoid that. But let's see. So this is just one example. I think actually, if I were black, I would probably avoid that by playing here. But then, like just stuff like this, trying to get some eye space here, or maybe this way first, getting some extra potential points, and winning the ko here to get some eye space out of it.
Settle quickly.
And this way, white is pretty much alive. White can always play here, and more or less, it's going to be a ko, but like that's another ko that black won't win. So white could start playing fairly aggressively in this variation.
And black doesn't really get anything out of that fight. I mean, it doesn't improve his position at all.
All the fighting is being done in an area that black wants to retain as black's territory, which means black has to be pretty careful about it. Black has to protect this territory on the right side. So I would be tempted to play that way. I don't really see why white is playing this dame point here.
Yeah,
White squeezes this is the game variation, but this squeeze here is also, it's not really that effective. White's probably going to continue the connection. Yeah, it means that black will still have the peep here, and this is probably going to be forcing 2. So it's not really. You can see the black territory in the lower left corner was not really reduced by this squeeze.
And white got nothing.
White got nothing. Well, with a weak group with no eyes, it's a very easy thing to happen. So white. So that's why I was talking about hopefully talking about white avoiding the necessity of living. I mean, avoiding the necessity of connecting up to the left.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah, well, obviously the idea is correct. The idea is good. The question is whether it's going to work as well as the variation I was showing you.
Right.
But it looked pretty good to me, I think. It's just that this whole sequence is slightly painful for white.
Right. Although points-wise, it's probably okay because I think black's still got to pay the komi. So in that sense,
I think black's pulling ahead. So like I was talking about white having, was it 57 points on the upper side?
Yes.
So I was having black playing that.
You must be so happy that black probably played that move.
So let's draw that borderline again. And that I might actually be paving it in one point. So that's.
But that move at this point, that move you were saying was worth something like 10 plus points. in Sensei?
Yeah, it was something that black had the right to play. It was a forcing move that black had. That's 58 points on the upper side.
58,
It sort of
58.
depends on whether I count this point or not. But if we assume this line, maybe I should count that point as I've marked. So 58. White has still only slightly more than 60 points, but white does have some thickness in the center.
Hard to see what, I mean, it's hard to see how he can get that many more points with it, though, right? Unless is there.
Well, how is white going to answer here? Let's see. The shape move would be just to capture the one stone.
To capture the stone, yeah.
In an endgame position, you might see white playing something like this for a bit more territory. If white leaves it, then black does have the extension here, which would be bad news for white. I don't like that. So yeah, maybe here. I think it's close enough to the end of the game that white does want to play the most active move. It leaves some bad agi in regards to this black stone, because it's not filling a liberty for that stone. But the fact that white played this solid move earlier is handling that for the time being. So after this, after white plays this move, for instance, let's imagine that black plays, let's see, where shall I have, let's imagine that black plays here in the center. I sort of see some black territory standing in the center here.
Oh, yeah. There's another.
That's some more territory.
More territory, almost 10 more points.
Potential territory. So white has 58 points there. Black has close to 30 points plus some potential there, 40, 50, 60, 70, more than 70 points.
Feels like white is running out of options here.
Well, a lot of stuff could still happen in the center of the board. Like the center of the board is really, really difficult, even for relatively strong players to play. Just because it's not standard shapes. So white ignored the threat on the left side. That's interesting.
Wow. Oh, expanding, right?
Yeah. And still this central area, this area here is so big. I would be, with black, I would be perfectly okay with, black obviously cannot play as aggressively as before.
Right.
Maybe black just plays something like this. This is still a very big move. White has something close to 60 points there on the upper side, but not really very much more to speak of. And black has, it's starting to look like about 40 points that black has on the right side, more than 10 points in the upper left. Somewhere around 20 points in the lower left. So that's already 70. Am I making a mistake here?
I don't.
And then 80. Then it's 80 with the lower right corner.
Yeah, I think somebody was running an AI on it and was saying that I could be misreading this, but I think it was something like 10 plus points. Somebody can correct me. But I think, yeah.
It's the score, the territorial score?
I think so, yeah.
Someone's using katago on the game?
Maybe so.
Yeah. So in the game, white did not play that move and instead played here. No, this one. Oops, this one. It's just
that makes sense. I mean, white needs to try and do something here. White is losing, right?
Well, you know, the fact that I don't really like this move because it has no effect on black on the left side.
That's why it's not even Sensei, is it?
Yeah. So if I was playing with white, if I was going to do something like that, I would do it on this side. This is so much more threatening that territory that black has on the right side, if I was playing with black, I would still be worried about that so-called territory that black has on the right side.
Absolutely.
Because this white stone here is still a bit annoying. It's still alive there inside the black territory.
Well, there's a problem there. The connection between E8 and N7 could be problematic, right?
N7? Oh yeah, the P8 and these two stones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, even just like if black plays away, just peeping here and playing here, this would be pretty troublesome.
Yeah, there's AGA.
And you were talking about the connection between these two stones. In most cases, it will be handled by a forcing move that black has to play here. So in many cases, that's going to be okay.
Okay.
But like you say, it does sort of depend. But in this variation, it's already starting to look bad for black when white does stuff like this.
Gotcha.
Actually, white would let's take back that move. White could actually just squeeze here.
Pick up some more points, right?
And then break through here. This is a disaster for black. So obviously black is not going to play away.
Ooh.
But if white had played there, and so I'm talking about this move, if white had played something like this, maybe if white can force black to play something like this, then it's a different story. Like white can just play all the forcing moves and then play here. And suddenly it looks like white has some potential here in the center of the board. This is an area that could very quickly change into something like 10 points.
Yep, that's a nice sequence.
Okay, so that's what I would have done. It looks like Mingjiu chose to go in one move late, and there's I think that means that he's aware of the fact that he has a difficult game at this point, and so he waited for black to play there, and now he jumps in. So this is more dangerous for white than before, but it's also if black gets greedy, it's going to be more dangerous for black also. So it's the more complicated way to play.
That looks a little too direct.
Direct for whom?
For what? I mean, white. I really liked your sequence. I mean, white looked like he had to cut like 2 or 3 ways to cause.
You're talking about this one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just your sequence is either if black screws up, black collapses, or or white gets a nice squeeze. But just going in straight like this, I mean, black, yeah, all of those are really nice. But
I think the fact that black is sort of forced to answer here,
yeah,
in a way, it does. It's obviously better for white, if you ask me, but also it does sort of simplify the game because after this whole sequence, that is going to be a secure black territory. So I think the idea that Mingjiu had here is that he's going to keep the game complicated by not playing.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
The right side open, and so it's probably like you could call it a bad move, but it's also going to be more dangerous for black if black makes a mistake after white jumps in afterwards. It could be even worse for black. I think he's just trying to complicate things.
So he's got to create some opportunities for himself, right?
So that is actually a way you can go about it, like waiting to the last moment to jump in like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is a point where really white would like to find something pretty surprising. Like I'm still. Oh, he played an attachment. Mingjiu is trying to take a small advantage. So this is it sort of makes sense. It goes back to the point where I was talking about playing forcing moves in this general area.
Yeah.
To avoid the necessity of playing all those useless moves connecting up to the left. Like white sort of wasted 1 or 2 moves here in the process of that. That's where white probably lost an even game and gave black the advantage, actually.
Right.
But his idea was that he wanted to try something inside black's territory. And a drastic way of doing that would be, for instance, doing something like this and actually trying to live inside. And white does have this attachment here and various forcing moves. Actually, this would be pretty exciting, this fight. It's probably more dangerous for white, but I would not say it's 100%. I think it's pretty dangerous for black too. I think if I had black, I would think that I'd be able to kill white, but I would not be 100% sure. Like white will attach here.
I mean, you kind of have to. If he lives, it's a bit of a problem.
If white lives, it's going to be a disaster. So white has options of doing stuff like this. It's actually pretty complicated. White has forcing move here. It's not going to be simple. Let's see, where's the key point? Even if white plays here, it's pretty complicated. Because white also has the option of moving out here at some point and looking at the cutting move here. When the fight gets this heated up, this is no longer going to be a forcing move. So like if we assume black takes away white's eyes here, and white plays something like this. This is actually pretty complicated. It's not crystal clear whether this is going to work for black, because white does have this threat to cut here. So this would be the drastic way of trying to trash the black territory, trying to make it a fight. The move that Mingjiu played was offering to just reduce black's territory, get some extra points out of it. Like this is sort of what white is aiming at. And if we get to, let's just keep it simple. If black is going to back off like that, white has gained several points here, and white can probably afford to now allow black to surround that territory. This would be a lot closer than we were talking about earlier.
Right.
So in the game, it's going to be exciting because black did not allow that. Okay. And black played here. Now this is looking really, really dangerous. White played here. So this is a point where white did have the option of trying to play moves like this, for instance. This is a kind of a quasi-forcing move that white could have tried playing, or white could have started with this move. Like this kind of play, it actually looks a bit safer. Something like this, just playing the forcing moves first, and this would be pretty much alive, actually. So that went off too well. But even in this variation, having that exchange in first, it looks like it's better for white. It looks like this position just looks like white must have something here. So I would maybe start with this move. Like if black plays here, something like this. Maybe this side. It's sort of hard to see where the key point is, but it looks like something good is going to happen for white.
Wow.
But instead, he played here immediately. Black takes the key point here. Sorry, not that one. The key point here. And white extends. So locally, white does not have eyes. But if we have black play something like this, then this is going to be alive. So this is getting pretty exciting.
Nice. It's a great life and death problem, isn't it?
It's a life and death problem. Black does have to worry about some weakness black has here. Like if black bumps against white here, even just immediately cutting.
I was trying to read that out. It doesn't look good.
And this race to capture is just looking bad for black.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be a ko. Maybe not. It's just looking bad for black. If black comes from this side, black has to take away the eye here, I think. This looks pretty dangerous too. 2 cutting points.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is not working.
So, yeah, this is looking a bit dangerous for black in any case. So, because white does have, let's see what happens if black plays underneath. Maybe this one. This would be a call for the time being. White would answer here.
Wait, what about protecting it P6?
P6, okay. P6. White will probably start with this move. You know, this is just, it's going to connect up. If black answers, white's alive already.
Yeah.
Capturing just the 4-5 stones here this is probably a success for white. Let's count this one. That was just about 15 points that black got back. Okay, so for instance, something like this. And now you see white has something like 70 points. And black is way behind in territory. Black is behind in territory in this case.
Mm-hmm. It's too much.
Mm-hmm. So this is an example of how it works. So capturing those 4 or 5 stones is not going to be good enough. So my guess is it's going to be this ko, but this is black was a bit greedy here. Black had to back off. So going back to this move, maybe an overplay. Like I was actually, you saw me sort of talking about this move, although I called it the most drastic way to go about it. Even if white plays this move, it was pretty complicated. It wasn't clear cut that black was going to win. I would bet on black, but it would be a dangerous variation. So when white plays here and black doesn't give an inch, then it's just that much more potential for white. This shape here, although I was suggesting playing this move first, even if white just plays in the game. This is a shape that is pretty resilient. It has the ko shape there. Anytime that black plays the tar here, white can play the ko. White has ko threats. If we look at the whole board, white has ko threats against. White has a few ko threats against this black group. White has probably a valid ko threat here in the upper right. So white has the ko threats. Black doesn't really have any ko threats. Once this ko on the right side starts, there's nothing big enough for black to get back.
No. Yeah.
So that's a resilient shape. That's why black did not play the ko. But now you see that this is a kind of a very annoying move. It's almost a Sensei move.
Wow.
Threatening the Atari here. And if black answers, well, we already went into that. If black answers, then white's going to be able to live. So I think black was a bit over aggressive there.
Yep. I agree. Too much AGA on that right hand side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if white lives, this trade is probably going to be. It could still get fairly close, but I would bet on white now, if white manages to live.
That's a What's the point swing?
Well, if we assume this territory for white, this is a territory where I was talking 58 points. It's going to be a bit smaller now. So I would subtract a few points, maybe call it something like 55. When the right side was black territory, I was giving the forcing endgame move here to white. To put it with stones, I was talking about white being able to play this sequence with Sensei at any point. And that was because the right side was a black territory. And so eventually it's going to be Sensei for white before it becomes Sensei for black.
Right.
In this board position where white is going to live on the right side, the opposite is going to be true. And so it's more likely something like this is going to happen. That's a few points difference. It's a few points difference in black's territory as well as white's territory. So that subtracts about 2 points from white's territory on the upper side. Also, there's the fact that black has moves like this in the center that will probably reduce white's central territory. So I'm going to call that something like 55. That even might be a bit too optimistic. And then in that variation, let's see, I made a variation where black captures the right side. In this variation, white has 4 points on the right side, so that takes white close to 60. And let's say white gets to this side. So with that territory in the center of the board, there's some territory here too. So white is close to 70 points now. White's territory is actually increased a little bit. And I was saying black has more than 10 points on the left side, this territory. And this is more than 25 points. I'll call it 26 points for the time being.
That's more than 25.
And this is still in the vicinity of 20 points. 46, 58. And then, then it's really difficult to count black's territory in the right side center area because it's full of holes.
Yeah.
26, so 58. But with white having something like 70 points, black really needs something close to 20 points to pay komi. That would take the 58, this is 26, 30, 46, 58, 58 with the lower right and the lower left and the left side. That's something close to 60 points. It means black needs about 20 more points, or almost 20 more points in the right and center area, which is looking these two areas are looking pretty small at this point. So this variation is it's not enough for black.
So black maybe overplayed in the response, or thought he had it in the bag and didn't want to give up. That's a place where,
well, if you back off like that, let's go back to that point where I said that black should probably back. No, not that one.
If it was me, I was definitely gonna back off. Right. Not even being able to read all that stuff out, it just made me nervous.
As far as mentally, it can be pretty painful if you play like this, and then it turns out you lost by a small margin. And so some people just don't like to back off like that, even if they think they might be able to win. If they think that they can play the stronger move, actually, it's a good habit. If you think this is going to work, then it's usually a good idea to go ahead and play it. The problem is that, to me, this looks like an overplay. And it would be the quicker way to win. It would be more decisive to just kill this white group and win the game then and there. The problem is that it doesn't seem to be working for black, but in the game we will see black play the strongest move. As I was suggesting, so the strongest move is black plays here. Yeah. And white is playing the ko. Let's see, I'll have to check the move order. He didn't even take the ko once? Of course he took the ko, yeah. Okay. And so black took the ko, white pushed through here. You see white, white had a ko-threat there. White probably can still even use the ko-threat on the first line here. Although that is not 100%. I'd have to calculate that to see what happens if black just sacrifices those 4 stones. And black can still live on the left side. So, but for the time being, white doesn't need that ko-threat because black has to connect here. So now white does not have 2 eyes. What's going to happen?
Wow. So just to recap here. So white's got to win the ko.
White has won the ko for the time being. Now white does not have, since black has played the tari on the first line and backed away from the ko. So black is connected on the first line. As it stands, white does not have room to make life.
No.
But black does have a dangerous position there. Black has to deal with this maybe. So what happens here? If black extends, then white can cut here. And let's see how will black handle this? This actually looks pretty dangerous for black.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to capture those white stones.
No, maybe there isn't.
When black connects here, black has 5 liberties. It means white's probably going to have to return to the center. So like if white plays something like this, looks like black can capture that white group. Like if black plays something like, maybe even the honeyworks, maybe something like this. For instance, this would work. And you can see white has only 3 liberties while black has 4.
Oh my goodness, wow.
Otherwise, so that was good for black. White cannot play here immediately because this would be a snapback. White can force here, but this would not extend white's liberties. Like black could play here anyway and play here. There's still 3 liberties. So to go back to the point where black has connected.
Nice. Wow.
Black could not play here immediately because white would just capture the 2 stones and the black group on the right side would be in danger.
Sure.
So black connects here, means white has to answer it in the center. But then black would have to return to the right side. This is actually going to be good enough for white. Sorry, white can't do that.
Doesn't work, right?
So white's going to leave that, play something in the center. White could even try this one. So this just looks, even if white loses the right side, this just looks so much like white's going to get something back for it. It looks very dangerous for black.
What's especially impressive, Michael, I don't know if you noticed, but white is not only causing black all kinds of headaches, but who do you think is in time trouble, white or black?
I wasn't watching. White is in time trouble. Yeah.
The white is the one that's short on time, but white is causing black all the headaches.
He's short on time because he had to conjure this up. So I'm expecting white to play this move, but white does have to figure out all of the races to capture that can derive. So this is, as far as I can see, this seems to be working for white. But it's going to involve a trade, like the variation I showed you is a trade where black captures the whole right side and white's going to try to get something back in the center of the board. And to me, this looks like it's working. Like if white, White's cut that black group off. And the question is white going to be in trouble on the other side?
On the left, right. If black can cut off the whole left side.
If black starts with this, this is a bit more complicated, but let's see how this turns out. White does have a problem with liberties. This might be a bit too much. So like if black plays here, maybe we'll have white play here. But still, this would be a huge gain for white, capturing the center. I think this should be good enough.
That's huge. It's I can't even count it. So many points.
20, yeah, this is going to be
30
something
points.
More than 80 points. More like 90 points. Let's see. That was 58 points. I was talking something like 58 points up to this line with white on this line.
Yeah.
10, 20. That's more than 30 more points. So it's above 90 points for white.
So the bump at L10 for black is looking problematic, isn't it?
The bump?
When black responded to white's L9 with the bump at L10.
Well, more than that move. I think it was that other move I was talking. More than this move. I think it was this move that black played was an overplay. I think black did have to back off. Maybe not so drastically as I was showing. Like black could. Black will, in actual play, black will probably not answer this move. So, so having black playing here I was maybe exaggerating a little bit just to make my explanation more clear. In actual play, white might not be able to play that final forcing move. My gut feeling is that this is going to be good enough for black to win the game, although it will become closer than black had expected.
It's a lot simpler for black, though. I mean, it just avoids all of this.
Well, it's sort of annoying if you go back to that point and say that black should have done that, then you start thinking that maybe this move, maybe it would have been better if black had backed off a little bit with this move.
That's what I was suggesting. Yeah, that something. Yeah, exactly.
So
what's the difference? What's it mean? So what, right?
And so when you start thinking that way, then sometimes it sort of just gets more difficult to back off now because it would be giving up more. Probably it would be giving up more than backing off at this point.
Gotcha.
So it's a bit mentally, it's a bit difficult to do that sometimes. I think this was in actual play, it was a bit of an overplay, the whole sequence here for black. But of course, if black kills the group, it's going to work. It's going to be good. You never know.
And Ryan, I will say, Ryan does have an awful lot of confidence in it to do that. So I was talking mostly about white playing Atari here and cutting. Sure.
There's the other thing that white can consider, and it's also not easy to read out, is this move. This could be pretty annoying for black too.
I was wondering about that. I mean, that's been there all along, right?
It's been there all along, and it sort of looks like it might be able to connect up to that stone in the center. And there's the fact that in some cases, white can bump against here. And bumping against here on the second line would be threatening to make an eye on the side.
Sure.
It has a co-attach, so it's not unconditional, but it is an eye that white can potentially make. So if white can create a position where bumping against black on the second line here is threatening to make two eyes, so it would be a Sensei eye towards the center of the board, then that would give white a life with a ko.
Oh wow! It looks like white played not your move though. White played N9, I think.
I did not see that move. So let's.
I didn't. No, not yeah.
Let's just do the variation. So white played That's also an interesting move. With this move, white is looking at options of sacrificing the left side, I think. I mean, the right side.
The right side, yeah.
And if black plays here, white will, after all, be looking at this move. And, this is going to be very effective just because black has no way. It's really difficult for black to find a way to save this stone and these stones on the right at the same time. For instance, if we just look at the position on the right, let's do it by saying if black pulls back and white pulls back, black can actually save those stones on the right by that move I was showing you before. Because if black plays here, then if we ignore that ko on the second line, this is bad for black, but black can actually play straight down and connect up. So black does have that way of saving the group on the right. The problem is that this move, when white plays here, it's not going to be forcing for black. Black has to add one more stone. And then white gets to play this move. And you can see that black group on the right is in trouble. So, so that's not an option. If black plays from this side, now you can see that this stone is, this stone that white has played here is functioning to capture the one black stone. So now black has to deal with all of these cutting points. And also the fact that, this is just falling apart, basically. Yeah. That's the way to explain it. Yeah. So, so that's what white is looking at, the cut here, which is it's going to be pretty, a very strong cut. It's going to give black trouble. So the other thing that white is looking at is that maybe black's going to do something to stop white from cutting there, but what exactly? Like it's.
But something. Tough. How about just something? What about just something simple, like 08?
08. That's simple enough. And then there's a possibility that white can just back off here.
That's what I'm saying.
How does white back off? Let's have white play here first. Black still needs to play another move here.
I mean, black overplayed, so black owes white a little something here, right?
I understand your reasoning. I don't know. Maybe. My answer to that is maybe.
Okay. I'm just saying, I mean, black kind of got himself in a little bit over his head, and it just seems to me that a lot of these things that you're looking at are coming up pretty good for white. White is really making excellent use of the AGA, so black may need to, offer to give white a little something.
Yeah, that's true. It is going to be very, very annoying still. Like there's still the push through and cut here that white can look at. So moves like this, stopping black from connecting on the first line. Moves like this for white will be forcing. And if black answers something like that. And, these stones are still sort of threatening semi with the whole black group.
Yeah.
White still looking at playing moves like, for instance, playing here. Still looks like it's a threat, actually. It still looks like it's a threat. So yeah, this might be the most sensible way to play, but yeah, he's trying to do it a little more efficiently.
That was the other one I was looking at, the Kasumi. I was wondering, does the Kasumi work?
Well, if white pulls out and black gets to play here, this would be just so much better. It would be so much better for black. This would solve all of black's problems with not so much of a loss. Like black has lost some territory in this area where white has gotten in more than black had expected, but black gained on the side here. So this would totally, it would be a good result for black. But white's probably not going to allow that. This looks like such a dangerous position when black plays here. White started with this move. You know, it even looks like white is playing the simpler move. It looks like maybe Mingjiu thinks he's got something going here.
You also realize white has to play 23 stones in the next 3 minutes, which is probably no problem, but
it's still okay. Like 3.5 minutes. He started with 5 minutes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, he only used 1.5 minutes on 2 moves.
I tell you, he's sure getting a lot of mileage. It's very impressive.
Well, just looking at a variation like this, it's just so troublesome for black. And there's still this attachment. There's the Hane, of course. But this attachment also is going to be troublesome. See. The attachment here also is a bit of a headache. Because if black answers on this side, white can start this stuff again.
And
so if black answers this way, white can...
Oh.
No, that doesn't work, sorry. White can wedge. This is trouble. So black connected. Yeah, that makes sense. So going back a few moves.
Oh, interesting. He didn't want to screw with it.
The game variation is getting buried in my variations. Is this going to be a problem?
Nah, you're fine.
I'm okay. Okay. So this attachment here is still going to be an issue. It's still going to be an issue. But I sort of agree with black's move. Black has to play solidly here. And black's game plan is that if black can reduce the loss in the center of the board as much as possible, black is gaining on the right side here with these stones on the outside, capturing the white group.
Yeah, that's got to be. I mean, that just makes sense.
So, like that black territory is, if we just count that area as black territory without counting any stones that black might have to put inside,
right?
It's close to 40 points. It's something like 37, 38 points. The problem is that it's this point I've marked, the triangle mark. I'm not sure what black's going to do about that. Let's take a look at it. White plays here.
You better do something quick.
If white plays an Atari here and cuts, that's going to be trouble on the right side.
Let me just ask you a question, Michael. If you had 1:20 on your clock and 23 stones, wouldn't you just do that attachment?
Exactly.
Right away?
I would just do the attachment. And now he has something like 3 seconds per move, less than 3 seconds per move. This is getting this is starting to be serious time trouble.
Yeah. He's just got to mix it up. I mean, go down with the ship.
No. White has the problem for white is that white actually has real winning chances now. It makes things more complicated. It makes white less willing to take risks.
Okay,
he wants to find the right move.
I know, but he's the whole.
Oh, he has only
crazy because he's running out of time.
He's running out of time. Unless maybe something happened to his internet.
I don't know. That's always a question, right?
Yeah. It looks like he's timing out.
Well, let's just look at this. So go ahead and look at whether he really has something here, or does black have the ability to handle it?
Why don't you play the black stones then? Where do you think black should play?
I mean, the obvious one is N8, right?
N8? N8.
Yeah.
You mean the M8, right? This one?
Yeah. Sorry, M8. What I said, N8.
Cuts.
Yeah.
It looks like he ran out of time.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a pity.
It is.
This actually looks like it's working for, well, it's going to be a ko. Black will connect, maybe? No. White white plays the Tari here and here. And this is going to be pretty exciting, actually, because black still has to worry about that group on the right. Like if black connects here, white can connect.
Yeah, this doesn't look good, right?
This is actually working for white. So to go back to the attachment.
Oh wait, doesn't black have a forcing sequence to connect out?
Okay, white is attached to black plays here.
So we should just we should continue with this, but we should just, I mean, that does make it 3-0 for New York. So congratulations to New York. Very exciting game. Definitely went down to the last seconds. We're just taking a look right now. Mingjiu definitely gave it his all there.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks from what you're saying that white's definitely got a legitimate plan going here.
I think he still had a game going.
And just folks, I think we're going to try and get the both players. I think they're both going to be invited to join us. I'll hear from our producers momentarily, but we'll keep going on with this, and actually we can hopefully talk to one or both of them about this. But it's difficult, you've got this, and then you've got such limited time, and there's no margin for error, right, Michael?
Definitely not. Well, it looked like black was getting into trouble here. It could have still been developing into a close game with white getting something back in the center and black getting the right side, because as I was saying, the right side has expanded a little bit. So maybe that he was thinking about that kind of stuff. In a fight like this, you don't really want to take the time to read out the territory, because you have to concentrate on the reading. So right. I would just playing these moves and see what happens.
Okay. All right. I think what we're going to do is take a very quick tea break, and we're going to come back with an AI Sensei review and possibly one or both of the players. So just a quick housekeeping. Congratulations to Ryan and the entire New York team with their 3-0 sweep. We now know why they are the third-time champions. So well done. But also big congratulations to San Francisco making the finals, and to Mingjiu, who just put up a hell of a fight there. Really very creative, and we'll take another look at that. And of course, thank you to our wonderful commenter, Michael Redmond, 9-down professional. I was watching the chat, folks. Really appreciated your. I think they got a little lost in the weeds when you were running out all those variations. But folks, if you're going to watch Michael, you just got to hang with him, because he's got those kind of chops. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Chris Garlock, back with you. Michael Redmond, of course, our professional commentator, and we're joined by Ryan Lee. Congratulations again, Ryan. Tough game. Really had us on the edge of our seats right to the end. How's it feel?
It was definitely tough. All the way till the end, it was incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
And what's worse was we didn't have enough time to read things out.
Yes, we noticed that. But fortunately, we did. When I say we, I mean Michael.
No, I was probably wrong most of the time.
No. So what we're going to do is we're using AI Sensei here, and I think what we'll do first is Michael, if you wouldn't mind just going through and hitting some of the high points of the game, since we have Ryan, I'd love to get you guys kind of weighing in on some of those key points in the game.
I was sort of interested about that point where Black went for the right side territory. So let's see when White peeped here. I would have just connected. So let's see. Not having used this program, I wonder if you can input variations.
I
look like
I just saw it the other day for the first time as well, but I believe that's the case, right, guys? The answer is
20%
yes.
Doesn't seem to really change very much, though.
Is it that pen button on the left?
Pen button on the left, Michael, up at the top where the arrows are. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
So yeah, Ryan, Michael was thinking about just the Kasumi, right?
Yeah.
I was debating between these two variations actually, and I was afraid of White playing the peep at Q9 and then the attachment.
Right.
And then the N14 move seems to help a lot with this variation with White coming out here. At least that's what I was afraid of.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It looks pretty even to me. I would feel okay with Black. I would like this variation. Does AI Sensei give us it doesn't give a point value for this one, the variations.
There is a way to do that, but I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get some guidance from
maybe one of these
Stephen on that. I'm not sure.
First time I'm using this thing.
Because you use a different version of AI Sensei, right?
Well, I just have a program. I have programs installed on my computer.
Hey, Stephen, the question is, Michael wants to get an analysis of the AI Sensei analysis of this variation. So the question is how to make it. Yeah, thank you, Jared. How do you make it give win rates on the variations? In any case, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Stephen says he doesn't think that it can do that, so we'll just go forward then.
So in the game, Black played here, yeah.
I was happy getting the right side actually because I felt that it was difficult for White to capture. So perhaps.
Yeah, you mean the upper area, right? Yeah. Well, it says you're leading by 1.2 points. So I guess it's good for Black. But yeah, the AI keeps wanting you to bump against here. That's a move you played later. Bumping against. I don't think I put that mark. Did I put that mark in, Chris? No, this is the Pandanet version.
So Pandanet. And A is
in by the A guy.
Yeah, A is where it wants.
It's saying that's where you should have played.
Right.
Oh, sorry. I think I disconnected there.
Yeah, we lost you for a second. Yeah, you're back.
I was gonna ask Mr. Redmond what he thought about the AGA for the two block stones at L16 and M15.
Yeah, I would
play there.
I was thinking that like if you do something with them, let's just go back a few moves then. Maybe here. It doesn't look very attractive for Black to be trying to run away with those stones. Was that what you were asking?
Yeah, but it also feels very big afterwards when White captured it.
Well, like that was sort of like the example I was giving that if Black does something like that, then the AGA on the right side is going to get more troublesome in this variation.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't like the idea of trying to save those stones, and I was sort of agreeing with your idea of sacrificing them, because if Black does sacrifice them, Black has like points like L12 or N13, forcing moves there, which should help Black secure the territory on the right. So I was agreeing with the way you were playing, actually. Although the AI is saying that you sort of, yeah. I'm pretty sure the AI is going to just have Black play from underneath like this, probably, and take the corner territory. This it looks like what I would see an AI do most of the time.
Yeah. What did you think about the game at this point? Did you like white or black?
I think Black has an advantage. I was thinking Black has an advantage. Well, looking at it now, I can see it with the AI. But it was the fact that White just had that one territory there, which would be 50 so points if White can secure it. And if Black gets the right side, that's 20 so points. So Black is the territory is pretty close, but Black has this potential to attack so much in the whole lower area, which was making it look good for Black for me. If White
I was worried a lot about that stone on the right, so maybe that's why you didn't like the variation I played in the game. There's just so much AGA with that white stone on the right side, and I was worried about that the whole game. Yeah. But what was interesting about this game was I felt good about the game, and then it seems like after the left side has been played out, I began to feel a little nervous about the points. Because after White enclosed after this variation on the left side, I'm not sure which move was questionable, but after the variation here, it seemed like in terms of points, Black was slightly behind.
Well, I was counting that area in the upper side something like 58 points if we assume White stones lined up on line 13. But then Black would have Black has something like 70 points. So I think that my analysis at this point was that if White has to play all these dame points on the lower side, then White's territory, then if Black is going to get something like, I was calling this, let's see, 30, so let's see, 30 there, 40, 42. I was saying Black has more than 70 points at this point. If we assume that the right side is territory, that's 20 so points. I was saying it was less than 30 points. And then that was 50. Oh, that makes it 80. So maybe, let's see. Black has a lot of territory. That's what I'm trying to say.
If I'm reading the graph correctly, I mean, the AI is liking Black pretty well.
Black's, more than 10 points on the board. Is this 6.5 point, Komi?
I think it's 7.5 AGA rules.
It's looking pretty good for Black.
Yeah, if nothing bad happens on the right side, this should be like Black even has that move at E8 to capture the two white stones, right? Or Black could even play E7 and reduce the center. I think that provided, so even Black could play a bit more
bit more safe?
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about this move, does it?
The 103?
Yeah, I was suggesting maybe if something like that is going to happen on the left side anyway, Black could have played one line to this side.
Yeah, I like this move better. I didn't expect... So my move, I was actually trying to go for some AGI with an attachment at K13. Perhaps that was a little ambitious.
I didn't like the white move here. Oh yeah, I think A and B are moves that the computer is suggesting, and I was saying maybe white should at least play something like this. So maybe this is not good enough. So the computer is suggesting A. Oh, it lets you play the moves that the computer suggests. Okay. And then it gives you a variation.
Yeah, we should look at B too, because B's interesting. Wedge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see all this stuff happening inside the black territory. This is what is sort of worrying for black. Something like this might happen. I guess it stops it. It doesn't go further than 15 moves. But this looks like it's going to be a ko or something. Even if white plays at R13, it looks dangerous for black.
Yeah, that seems at least a ko.
Kind of stuff. So like, let's go back. Try this one.
Wow.
I would be really happy if white played the wedge, actually, because that would sell out all the AGA there.
Mm-hmm.
That stone.
Yeah, especially if human players played it. You know, when the AI plays it, it just gets more and more complicated. Yeah. Well, I'm not really convinced. I like the other variation better, actually. I think I like this one better for white.
This one actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But you know, in a human game, I wouldn't expect black to play 6.
No, I wouldn't consider it.
It's dangerous. No, it just gives the same variation. So it's just the one variation it gives. But this just looks very dangerous for black. So yeah, I think that if white just had to try something here, and although the computer is giving you a more than 2 points lead, you know, it doesn't seem safe to me. Like I don't really see where the 2 point difference is.
Yeah, definitely a lot of uncertainty here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I really did not like the game move here, which is just covering a living black group.
Perhaps he should play the game he played after I protected the S8 attachment before black plays the jump in the middle.
Mm-hmm. You mean with white's move here? With this?
Oh no! I was thinking white could play the move he played in the game, the S8 attachment.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, but this is all.
Oh, yeah,
this is very.
I bet that's according to the computer, that's probably not going to be good enough. I think you could have probably won even answering from inside. So like if you're talking about this move.
Yeah.
I think actually in this game, like if we say that white's going to play this move, in this variation, I think that it's probably already good for black, even if black plays from inside the territory.
Yeah.
That was my feeling. I was thinking that black has a lead at this point.
I was curious about that too, Ryan. What was your read at this point? Because I mean, that was my instinct, was that you had enough margin to play a little more safely. But did you feel like it was you couldn't afford it?
I guess it was a mental thing. Like at this point, I didn't really want to give up anything if I didn't think it worked. I didn't think this move could work because from a logical point of view, white should play this before enclosing at G12, right? But then I added a move in the middle, and white still played here. So I really did feel like I could capture it. So that's why I Haned on the outside.
Yeah, this is wild. Just look at the moves that the computer is suggesting.
Oh.
This is actually it looks like a good shake move for white.
A bit hairy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very exciting. That's where the variation stops.
Yeah.
Let's see in the game.
But all of these still look okay for black.
Yeah, I didn't like this move that white played at 110. This sort of simplified it. So yeah, A is a move that I had considered. We did go into this. Well, it's already different, but we did go into this variation. Well, white will be able to save the 4 stones. Maybe not good enough for white. Let's see. Let's go back. I was thinking actually of maybe starting with this point.
There doesn't seem to be enough forcing moves. This is the ultimate life and death problem.
It really is. But Michael found like I would think at least 3 ways for white to live, right, Michael?
I won't guarantee them.
No. It was interesting. There was a lot more. White had a lot more room than it looks like.
What gets a bit more room, it looks more dangerous for black. Not so sure about it though. Actually, this looks like maybe it could live.
Is this enough for white?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is, but
Does black get the left side now?
Yeah, I think this is probably this looks. I would be worried about this for black. I think white's got a lot. Yeah. Well, white scooped out the whole territory. I think this was a success for white.
Yeah.
But I think the game move here, it made it relatively simple for you. Because now white just does not have the space. Yeah, and this is really so complicated. So if white directly goes here, what happens?
I think black can pull back at 08 directly.
I guess that's right. So black pulls back and then connects underneath. Okay. So if white plays here, black's going to play something like this.
I was going to Hane at N10.
and 10. Oh, same thing. Okay.
There was an interesting double ko variation with the extend and yeah, block and then P11 and then with all the pushes, what can do yeah, push again and then Atari. Yeah, and then I think black doesn't have to answer here. Black can play S11. At least that's what I read in the game. I guess black would have to. Yeah, and then black would have to take away the I, yeah.
It looks a little scary.
Like a ko.
But I think it's sufficiently heavy for white as well in this case.
Okay, so that would be a double ko.
Hmm. Really seeing a peaceful resolution here, guys.
Try a bit more. Well, not that one. Sorry. This one.
Then capture the other one. We're getting really far away. It looks like it might be possible for a massive trade where white captures the left side and black wins the ko.
Not sure about that move. Yeah, the left side is maybe white can capture it with this move.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I don't think that works. But black can still.
Yeah, you need to explain that to folks, guys. I think that's right.
And the Hane first.
Black is short of liberties too, though. In this variation, black maybe shouldn't have played all those moves. Black is short of liberties too.
Can black connect at E11 later? So do the squeeze and then Atari and Hane?
Yeah, that worked.
Nice.
Now we get to count. I guess this looks good for black.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So black gets the entire right side.
Yeah, that was big enough. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess it's bad for white after all. But it would have been much more exciting, I think, if white. So I think maybe this should be called the losing move. It really does look bad for white after that. So the AI is suggesting moves like this. Yeah, I didn't really understand this variation though. Yeah, this didn't really work for white. Go back to them. And it was also suggesting this one. That's alive.
So the AI thinks it will live. From that point of view, my S7 move was terrible.
S7, yeah. This actually
that was the big question, Ryan. That was really a problematic move.
Well,
Yeah.
it's so complicated.
Yeah.
This variation, it's alive. Yeah, that's obvious, but yeah.
I guess it's because I misjudged the situation. I didn't think I was comfortably ahead.
Yeah, I had the feeling black had a small lead, but yeah, if you do back off there, I can see that it would become fairly close.
Yeah, that was my worry.
And after that, it just gets more and more complicated. And the only you had a time advantage, which definitely helped.
Yeah, but I didn't really think I was ahead at all, actually, in this game. But the AI clearly thinks that black was slightly ahead.
Slightly ahead, yeah. It's giving you a huge percentage and something like 2 or 3 points.
2 points, yeah.
Yeah, so this was maybe it was a chance for you to do this kind of stuff. Like it's suggesting this move now.
Okay.
And this opportunity to play from forcing moves there.
Yeah.
Maybe. This looks exciting. And black's going to cut, and then there's another cut there.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Exciting game, guys. Really great game, Ryan, and great commentary as always, Michael. Really appreciate that. Couple things, Ryan, I want to ask you before we wrap up. You've got a match with Ilya Shiksin on Sunday. You feeling confident about that? What's your thought?
Well, I typically just play by ear. Nothing. Well, yeah. I mean, Ilya's a strong player,
Yes.
and I think he's more active than I am in the Go scene. So yeah, we'll see. I had a very devastating loss at the Trilon Cup.
Yeah.
Did learn a lot from that game though against Murakawa. But yeah, it was it's one of those games where when you lose, it makes you feel really, really bad about the game. But I think I'm recovering.
Well, hopefully, it's you can learn from the losses, and today was a really solid win. I mean, Mingjiu is not an easy player. He's a tough guy, and you can't count him out. So it's a good win for you. Also, you have a lecture tomorrow, I believe, at 5:00 EDT on Twitch.
I do.
Right?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. Promote that.
Well, I'm hoping to see everyone today there.
Good. So 5 o'clock Eastern, right back here on Twitch. So folks are going to be with. It's going to be a big day. Lots of stuff going on. So check that out. Last couple of days of the Go Congress. So cool. All right, and of course, folks want to check out Michael's YouTube channel, and we've got the all the stuff he's been doing, and the Master series that we're doing as well. So. Again, congratulations, Ryan. Really great game, very exciting. Nothing, if not, you certainly had Michael working overtime with the variations.
Thank you, and thanks for the review.
My pleasure. Yeah.
And thanks as always, Michael. It was very, very exciting. People really enjoyed that as always. So appreciate that. Also, Jared and Steven, our producers, wonderful job, guys. Thank you so much for keeping all of that stuff going. And of course, thanks to the American Go Association, and thanks to all of our viewers. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned. Come back and check out the Twitch stream tomorrow. So that'll do it for today. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks again to both of you. Take care.
Thank you.